Hey friends, welcome back to my channel at the end of what's felt like a very long month for many because it has been very difficult in some ways in terms of the pandemic, of course, and the events in America. But I'm not going to go into detail about those less pleasant things because you already know about them, and I want to keep this as positive as possible. And there are plenty of positive things to mention. You know, the year as a whole is looking quite good in terms of the direction we're heading in, which is fantastic. We've got a lot to look forward to. And I've got various nice things I can mention for this month as well in my favourites. As always, there's lots more detail in my blog post about the things I mentioned here, and none of it's sponsored or gifted. This is just a summary of the things that have been getting my attention and that I've been enjoying this month. And I also just want to quickly say, just to get one more slightly negative thing out of the way, is that I'm dedicating this video to my father, who passed away 10 years ago this month, which is a long time. It's really gone fast. He's always in my thoughts every single day for one reason or another. We still miss him very much. He was always great fun to be around, very supportive and everything. So yeah, this is dedicated to him. And next month is another anniversary on a much more pleasant note. It's the 5th anniversary of me becoming a blogger. That's when I started doing my blog back in February 2016. So thank you if you've been with me for any of that time, really. If you've been with me for the long haul throughout that, then thank you incredibly much. That's been very nice of you to support me all the way. But if you've joined me at any point on this journey, then thank you very much. It's made this very worthwhile. I keep getting good feedback on it, so that's great. That's what keeps me going to do this, what keeps inspiring me to do this. So yeah, I just wanted to get those little bits of admin out of the way, as it were. But yeah, let's crack on with this month's video, and I hope you enjoy it and find it of interest. So I will mention COVID to begin with, but on the nice side of things, because my mother had her first dose of the vaccine at the end of the month, and my aunt has also had her first dose of the vaccine too. So I'm relieved that they've got some form of protection now. My aunt went to the Excel Centre, which is one of the big hubs they've got in London, and my mum went to a local surgery because it's much easier for her to walk there, and all the staff there were absolutely wonderful. We were in and out within 20 minutes. You know, it was so quick and easy. The doctor was very nice, answered mum's questions and explained things very clearly. And a man from Age UK was there to take her photo while she was having the jab done, just to help promote, the vaccination to others, to help spread the word. She didn't feel anything. It was just a little scratch like any other vaccine. And we had to sit around in the waiting room for like 10 minutes afterwards just to make sure there were no ill effects. But she was fine. So we came home and she's been fine ever since. You know, as I film this, it's been a couple of days now since she had that done, and she's still absolutely fine. There was a little bit of soreness where the injection took place, but only if she pressed on it. Otherwise, she just didn't notice it. So yeah, it's absolutely fine. No ill effects there at all. My aunt is also fine, as are various other people I know who have also had the vaccine. So as soon as the opportunity comes for me later in the year to have it done, then I will certainly jump at the chance. So please do take the vaccine if you're offered it. I know people get a bit wary about the fact that it's so new and unfamiliar to them and everything, and there's lots of misinformation about the internet that kind of preys on that kind of vulnerable section of society who aren't sure what to do for the best. So just be careful about what you read online and just trust the experts, because they do know what they're doing. The government have got a lot of things wrong. I think we can all acknowledge that. But the scientists and the health staff and everything, they are fantastic. They do know what they're doing. So I do feel we can absolutely trust them. The NHS have always looked after our family very, very well over the years, and this is no exception. So thank you very much to the NHS, everyone on the front line, everyone in care homes, and all the key workers and everybody else who's helping to keep the country running and keeping us safe and everything. It is always very much appreciated. You can never be thanked enough. And as I edit this, the news has come through that Captain Sir Tom Moore has sadly passed away with the virus at the age of 100. He was a huge fundraiser, of course, during 2020, raising millions of pounds for the NHS. Was a very popular character, had such a positive attitude to life, so he'll be very sadly missed. But thank you for all you've done, Captain Tom, and I know that your foundation will carry on doing great work in your honour in the years to come. There's also been an episode of the BBC's In Touch programme on BBC Radio 4 where they've spoken about COVID testing and vaccinations and things. So if you're visually impaired, that might be of interest to you as well. And the RNIB have a guide on their website about what to expect if you get a coronavirus test kit delivered to your home, because they are a bit fiddly to use. So that gives you a good sense of what to expect if you have to receive one of those kits. And there's also been a lovely video produced by Adil Ray and various other celebrities who are members of the Black and minority ethnic community, promoting it to their fellow members of the community, because they are among the most vulnerable when it comes to this virus, and they're also vulnerable to the misinformation. It seems there's a lot of misinformation out there that is putting some of them off from having the vaccine, I think. So this is aiming to reassure them that it is safe and everything, dispelling a lot of the myths and things like that. So if you are a member of that community, if you are Black or of another ethnic minority, then do go and check that video out. I'll link to it in the description and put a card up on the screen, because I think it will help to reassure you that a lot of other people like yourself are perfectly happy to have the vaccine and for their families to have the vaccine. fascinating. And then congratulations to America, of course, for the inauguration of President Biden. I'm glad democracy prevailed over there despite the chaos that was left by his predecessor. I've never seen an inauguration ceremony before, but given the significance and importance, I did have it on while I was at work and during the evening as well, because there was a lot going on. And yeah, it was great. It was really nice to watch. Biden's speech was wonderful. And there was that lovely poem by Amanda Gorman as well, and Lady Gaga did the national anthem really nicely. And also the ceremony was made accessible online as well. You could watch it with sign language and audio description and captions and things. So they really made an effort to bring it to as wide an audience as possible. I watched it on the official YouTube channel for the inauguration rather than one of the news outlets, so it allowed me to kind of focus directly on it. And we even got a tour of the Capitol building later on in the stream as well, and you got to see them walk into the White House, which was a very special moment, of course. And there was a virtual parade across America as well. And then there was the Celebrating America program that took place later. We had various different performers like Bruce Springsteen and John Bon Jovi, and Katy Perry sang over the fireworks display at the end and things like that. So there was all that kind of thing going on. It was a lovely celebration of hope and positivity overall, the whole occasion. So I'm glad America felt they had something to celebrate, especially in such difficult times. So yeah, that was really nice. And then in relation to the departure of the previous president, there have inevitably been lots of parodies online. So Shirley Serban on her channel, and she's done loads of parodies over the past year to do with COVID. She did a cover of Gloria by Laura Branigan, calling it Euphoria. Jimmy Kimmel did a goodbye song to the former president on his live show. And James Corden did a version of a song from Les Mis called One Day More. That was very well put together on his Late Late Show. So then moving on to documentaries, and the first two I want to mention aren't particularly pleasant, but they are well worth watching because they're very important, and they're to do with disabled people. There are often documentaries about disabled people on the TV in some form or another, but these two were particularly well made and are particularly important given the topics they covered. They're both on the BBC, and the first was called Silenced, the hidden story of disabled Britain, and the other was called Targeted, the truth about disability hate crime. As you can surmise from those titles, they are unsettling to watch, but they're important for that reason. That's the whole point, because they give you a real insight into how disabled people were treated in history and how they are still being treated in the present. And there are still many similarities there, and there are still things that are shocking and eye-opening and shouldn't be happening. And it's only by facing up to these realities that we can try and figure out how to deal with them and how to change people's perceptions of how they treat disabled people. So I do encourage you to watch those documentaries. As I say, they're not an easy watch necessarily, but they are very informative and very important. But if you want something more cheerful to watch on the disability front as well, then the Nystagmus Network have now uploaded all of their videos from the 2020 Open Day they did online to their YouTube channel, which is fantastic. You can watch various bits and pieces in there about research and people's real life experiences and things like that. So I'll put a link to that playlist in the description as well. And then moving away from that to another kind of documentary completely, and I've been really enjoying the World of Wonder documentary about the Natural History Museum on Channel 5. It's one of my favourite museums, so naturally I was intrigued by this documentary, and it's a lovely look behind the scenes of what goes on in this beautiful building with all their wonderful exhibits. Get to find out a lot about the items they have on display and all the research they do and how they maintain everything, and obviously get to learn about all the different animals and other creatures and things they keep in there, from blue whales to dinosaurs to their huge collection of stuffed animals to all the insects and all sorts of other bits and pieces. It's absolutely fascinating. And in addition to that, over on the museum's YouTube channel, they're uploading a load of live talks about all sorts of different topics, which look really interesting. I haven't watched them myself yet because they're quite long, between half an hour and an hour each, but they cover a wide variety of different subjects, and I am going to get around to watching them because they look very, very interesting. And then the Natural History Museum also had a starring role at one point in the next thing I want to mention, which brings me on to comedy, and that is Mischief Movie Nights. And I mentioned this last month, but basically Mischief Theatre, who've done the Goes Wrong show and stuff like that, they've been doing a series of improvised movie nights, basically, where you can submit ideas for the genre of the movie you want, like a musical or horror or something like that, and then the location where it takes place and various other bits and pieces you want to happen during the film. And they try and incorporate it all, and Oscar the director throws in little curveballs as well along the way, things like that. So every single movie is different. It's improvised on the spot, not just by the cast, but also the musicians, who also deserve a lot of credit, and the technical crew as well, who are filming it and doing the green screen and stuff like that. It's a really clever operation, and it's really silly as well. It's comical, it's farcical. They don't take it too seriously, but they're very, very good at what they do nonetheless, and it's really impressive what they come up with. If you look in my blog post, where there's a lot more detail about everything in this video, you'll see a whole list of the movies that they did in this particular block with a brief description of what they were about. It was a really fun selection as per usual. I'm glad I attended all of them, just like I did at Christmas. One of the highlights was the fact that Chesney Hawkes was involved heavily in the final show. He wasn't in it, but he made a suggestion in a tweet which they latched upon, and basically there were references to Chesney throughout the show as a result of that, and there was even a video shared later of his family laughing along to it. It was utterly bizarre and chaotic, just like all of their other shows, but it was a really great way to finish the run. Another highlight was the show that took place at midnight, where Oscar the director was dragged in to do a cameo, which gave the cast the chance to get their revenge on him by making him do something silly, because he's been making them do all sorts of daft things by throwing in his ideas along the way. So they got their revenge, and then he got his revenge immediately afterwards as well. So there's this fun kind of rivalry going on there. And also in that final show where Chesney had been involved, which was all about like a rock band trying to make it to the big time, they made the Zoom crowd form a mosh pit for the final big song, dancing and everything, which was quite fun. So yeah, it was a great end to a great week of shows, and they're doing another batch of shows in February, which you can book up onto. You can't book to be on the Zoom panel to participate in directly talking to them because there's very limited numbers and they sell out pretty much straight away. I've always missed it, but it's £10 for a viewer pass for each show. You just watch it through your web browser. It's nice and easy. You can book multiple tickets as well. When you're going through the booking process, just pick one show, go through the booking pages, and you'll get the option to add to cart at one point, and you can go back and do other shows in the same way. Put a load in your basket at once and then get them all. I'm going to do the whole lot like I did before because, like I say, every show's different and they're all just great fun. It's brilliant. And this is the last run of shows before they go off and do the next TV project, so got to make the most of it. And also it's worth mentioning, just as a side note, that they made one of their shows accessible as well by adding captions from stage text, and there was also a British Sign Language interpreter there as well. So it's a shame they didn't do it for every show, but the fact they actually tried doing it and it seemed to work out very well is fantastic, and maybe that's something they'll think about doing more of in the future as well. Audio description, I think, would be rather difficult, but it's great that they did BSL and captions. And then also on a comical, farcical, chaotic, messy note, I've also been enjoying Noel's House Party this month. Last year I mentioned that Andy Pearman had a YouTube channel where he's been uploading episodes and clips from Noel's House Party, but he was doing it in a bit of a random order, so while I saw a few bits and pieces here and there, I thought I would wait until we had everything because that was his intention. And he now has every single episode of the show up on his YouTube channel in its entirety. Just one or two minor little cuts to get around music copyright strikes here and there, but otherwise they are pretty much intact. Any cuts are very, very rare. I've only seen one so far that's noticeable in the first two series. So it's fantastic to see them back again. It was a classic show from the 90s, and it doesn't get repeated because it was a live and interactive show at the time. So apart from clips you might see in compilations or occasional clips or shows people have shared online, we've never been able to see it in its entirety before. So it's been great to relive that show. Lots of great celebrities appeared on it in gotchas or appearing at the door to do sketches or getting gunged or taking part in the games and things like that. And the audience in the studio and at home are heavily involved, either on purpose or by surprise, whether it again be being gunged or taking part in the games or being surprised at home by the hidden cameras on NTV, things like that. One of the great things isn't just the fact that he's got the full episodes on there, but also the fact that Andy's got hold of studio footage from after the show went off air. Sometimes it's just Noel recording promos for the next episode and you hear Felix the warm-up guy talking to the audience, but I mean, even they're still kind of interesting to watch for curiosity value. But then also some of the later shows have more activity involving some of the guests that were on the show, and Mr. Blobby, of course, which the show introduced us to and stuff like that. So they are really genuinely rare pieces of TV because they've never been seen before. And he's also uploaded all of Noel's Christmas presents as well. That's the show he did every year where he gave people lovely surprises. I've not watched all of those because they don't interest me quite as much, but there is an episode that features a friend of mine, so I have seen that. That's a lovely episode. And he's also uploaded a few episodes of Telly Addicts, and there are a few other episodes dotted around YouTube as well. And he's also been uploading episodes of Noel's Saturday Roadshow that he did before Noel's House Party, and that is very interesting because I've never seen them before, I was too young at the time, but they also have elements like gotchas and gungings and Wait Till I Get You Home that were carried over into the house party when Noel moved over to that show. So it's going to be interesting to see those as well. And there's other bits and pieces as well that Noel did in the past, like Swap Shop. You can see a few of them online too. So I'll catch up with some of those, but I'm going to do Noel's House Party first because, as I say, it was a really fun series. It went downhill in the later years. There was budget cuts and changes and various decisions and things that even Noel wasn't happy with. He refused to film an episode at one point because he really fell out with the BBC over some things. But even then, there's still some nice moments in the later shows. So it's bringing back lots of memories, and it's just good fun, good escapism, which is exactly what we need right now. So then moving on to other comedy, just to go through a few other bits and pieces very quickly. Staged has been back for Series 2, featuring David Tennant and Michael Sheen, looking for work during lockdown, of course, and getting involved in various arguments as a result of it. There have been quite a few big Hollywood stars appearing on the series this time around as well, which has been really fun to see. And a DVD of Series 1 and 2 is coming out in February, so I'm going to be getting that. There was a celebration of the 30th anniversary of Mr. Bean called Happy Birthday Mr. Bean on ITV, featuring Rowan Atkinson and Richard Curtis and various other people involved with the show talking about it. So that was really fun. There's lovely clips in there as well, of course. It's always fun to see Mr. Bean again. And there is potential for the character to come back again as well, so that would be good if that happens. And then another show that's been celebrating its 30th anniversary is The British Empire, Wire, a great sitcom from the 90s that I still love now and have on DVD. And they reunited the cast for a special online Zoom session, which was fantastic. They did a script reading for an entire episode, which was really fun. And they also had a Q&A, and they just had general reminiscing about the show. And it's clear they had very fond memories of it, and they still keep in touch with each other and get on really well. And there's enthusiasm for bringing the show back as well. You know, if more scripts can be written and a channel can pick it up, then they're more than happy to step back in the shoes of their characters and do some more. So it would be lovely if it came back in some form, either, you know, on Netflix or on the TV if a channel picks it up or whatever. And the EMCon channel that featured that Q&A on YouTube and Facebook also has videos featuring Chris Barry and Danny John Jules having a little chat. And there's a birthday celebration for Danny John Jules and various other bits and pieces. So it's worth having a little dig through that channel if you're a fan of things like Red Dwarf as well. And I've also been enjoying my usual comedies as well, of course, like Not Going Out and Would I Lie to You, which has moved to Mondays in February. Mock the Week, QIXL, The Last Leg, 8 out of 10 Cats Does Countdown, The Big Fat Quiz of Everything, and on the radio, The Unbelievable Truth. If you saw my Christmas favourites video last month, then you'll know that I enjoyed watching Sarah Millican's stand-up comedy shows online, and I decided to buy them all on DVD in January as a result of that, so I've got all of those in my collection now. They've got a nice selection of extra features on most of the discs as well, so you've got interviews and radio programmes and stuff like that. There's also a running joke about people being asleep in the audience as well, which is a hidden Easter egg on one of the DVD menus, which is worth looking for. Easy enough to find though. So yeah, it's nice to have all of those in my collection. And I also bought Home Alone on Blu-ray as well, because I've not owned that before, amazingly. So I've got that now, which has also got some nice extra features on it, you know, like behind the scenes stuff and outtakes and deleted scenes and stuff like that. And I will get Home Alone 2 on Blu-ray at a later date as well. And then on YouTube, there's more home tasks being set by Alex Horn for fans of Taskmaster, based on challenges that actual contestants were doing in the real TV show this time. And Greg Davis is judging people's efforts as per usual. So again, people are being very creative. They're fun to watch. And Julie Nolke has also got some new sketches on her channel as well, as per usual. She's always pumping out new content regularly, so she's worth subscribing to. And then moving on to music finally, and on DVD this month I bought Suzi Q, which is a documentary from 2019 about the wonderful Suzi Quatro, and it features the lady herself and members of her family and people she worked with and people she influenced and stuff like that. It's a really candid and fun documentary, really interesting journey through her life, not just looking at her musical performances, but also her appearance on Happy Days and also her appearances in the theatre and stuff like that. So yeah, it was really good, really enjoyable, and there's a nice lot of extra features on there with extended interviews and outtakes and things like that as well. So there's a lot on that disc. If you're a fan of Suzi Quatro, I can highly recommend it. And then the big viral hit this month has of course been the Wellerman Sea Shanty by Nathan Evans, which is based on an old New Zealand folk song. He didn't write it, but his version went viral on TikTok, and then he released it as a single, getting to number 3 in the charts. And it's basically been covered by various other people since then. Brian May's done a version of it on his channel on the guitar, and there's been a metal version and dance remixes and all sorts of bits and pieces. So I've linked to some of those versions in my blog post if you're interested, but I couldn't really go through this month and mention music without mentioning that, because it's just been all over the place. And it is a catchy little song, to be fair. And then very quickly elsewhere, the Holderness family have done a couple more parodies. There's Come On Vaccine, based on the Dexy Midnight Runners song Come On Eileen, and they've also done my favourite Bernie memes, about the Bernie Sanders memes that have been going around based on a Sound of Music song. The Ukulele Orchestra of Great Britain have posted their versions of Gimme All Your Lovin' by ZZ Top and Song 2 by Blur. They're very entertaining. The Sweet Charity Choir have done a beautiful version of Somewhere Over the Rainbow, which included sign language, as it was in support of a charity called Deaf Self, which was helped by children in need, and it was also in support of Marston Court Care Home. And then Brian May's also been doing some other micro concertos on his channel as well, including a little version of Tear It Up as a happy birthday message to Adam Lambert, and a little play of House of the Rising Sun in tribute to Hilton Valentine, the guitarist from the Animals who died recently. And that's it. That's all I have to mention for the month. I hope you found that enjoyable and interesting as usual. There's a lot more detail in my blog post as always if you want to dig through that. Don't forget to also check out my throwback journal posts that I'm publishing every week once again. That's going back through 2005 at the moment, where I'm talking about my early career and entertainment I've been enjoying and top 100 lists and things like that. So there's plenty to dig through there as well. And yeah, who knows what February has in store. You know, I thought last month might be quiet, which it was in some respects, but certainly not in others. But yeah, I'm going to carry on watching, you know, the same things really. Noel's House Party, the box set for that I'm still going through. There's more of those Mischief Theatre movie nights, and there's all the other comedies I watch regularly. And beyond that, who knows? We shall see what happens. But yeah, in the meantime, I hope that you and your family, friends, colleagues, etc. all stay safe and well. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe as per usual, and I will see you for another video very soon. Bye.